Welcome to the deep dive. Actually, this is the Lee Orr Super Fun Learning Hour, and you are joining us for, believe it or not, the 8th deep dive in our ongoing seminar series. We're really getting into the fascinating world of the unconscious.
That's right. Been quite a journey so far.
It really has. And today, we're embarking on another deep journey, this time into a paper by Wilfred Bion. Now, he's a towering figure in psychoanalysis, maybe a bit enigmatic for some.
Oh, definitely. He doesn't always make it easy, does he?
No. The paper we're looking at is his Notes on Memory and Desire. Okay, let's try and unpack this one.
Yeah, and it's important to say this isn't just any paper. It's a really profound suggestion, and frankly, quite radical.
Radical how?
Well, it challenges some very, very fundamental assumptions we all have about how we understand things,
Yeah.
especially, in that intense space of the analytic encounter. Bion's inviting us to think about a state of mind that's, well, it's really counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive is a good word for it. So, our mission today, yours and mine, is to walk you, the listener, through Bion's central points. We want to make some space to really reflect on this truly revolutionary idea he puts forward, that the analyst should try to work without memory and without desire.
Without memory and desire, just let that sink in.
Exactly. Imagine just letting go of that constant pull to repeat the past, the memory part, or that push toward the future, the desire part.
It's all about staying radically present, just right there in the immediacy of the encounter.
Get ready, folks, because this is where it gets really, really interesting. One, setting the stage. Why Bion's Notes on Memory and Desire is a radical proposition. Okay, so to really get why Bion's Notes on Memory and Desire felt so radical, and maybe still does, we kind of have to start with something basic.
Right, like how much memory and desire influence us all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And often without us even noticing, right? That unwitting influence. Just think about your own mind, like right now or any moment. How often does something new happen, a situation, a face you see, something someone says, and bang, it triggers a memory?
Constantly. It's almost automatic.
It is. You meet someone new, maybe they make a gesture, and suddenly you're reminded of, I don't know, an old friend or maybe someone you had a falling out with. And just like that, your perception of this brand new person, it's already colored, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's a perfect example of memory working not just as, like, simple recall, but as an active filter. Bion actually describes memory, and this is key, not as some neutral filing cabinet we dip into.
Right.
He calls it an unwitting, misleading device of interface.
Wow. Misleading device.
Yeah, it's like we're looking through this pre-programmed lens shaped by everything that's happened before.
Yeah.
And he argues this lens, it influences our unconscious, sure, but it actively gets in the way of what he calls dispassionate observation.
So instead of seeing what's actually there right now,
We see what fits with or looks like what was there before. It distorts our judgment, and not by, telling outright lies, but through selection and suppression of material. It highlights certain things, pushes others into the background, all based on past experiences.
okay, so that's memory. And desire then. You said it works in a similar way.
Very similar. And often just as sneaky, it's not always about some big conscious goal like I want to get that promotion.
Yeah.
It can be that really subtle nudge, almost imperceptible, that directs your focus towards some future outcome you want.
Like say you're talking to a colleague and you're really hoping they'll agree to help you with something.
Exactly. That hope, that desire, it can make you selectively listen. You might latch on to anything that sounds positive, like agreement, and maybe unconsciously tune out their hesitations or concerns.
Leading to that same selection and suppression.
Precisely. It affects what you notice, how you interpret it, and then how you act. It's like, wearing rose-tinted glasses or maybe fear-tinted glasses. You only see what fits the emotion, the desire, the hope, or the fear. You're definitely not seeing the full picture, the unvarnished present moment.
Okay, so this perspective, this way of looking at memory and desire as potential hindrances, this was laid out in his paper.
Yeah, Notes on Memory and Desire came out in the Psychoanalytic Forum back in 1967. And you have to understand, this wasn't just him adding a little footnote to existing theory.
No.
No, it was a fundamental challenge. He was basically asking psychoanalysts, and maybe by extension all of us trying to understand anything deeply, to completely rethink how we observe and how we understand. Especially in those really fluid person-to-person situations like an analysis session, it's a call to strip away the very tools we usually depend on to make sense of everything.
So the really counterintuitive heart of it is this idea For the analyst, memory and desire aren't helpful tools. They're actually obstacles.
Exactly. Obstacles to true discovery.
Which, as you said, just flies in the face of how most of us operate. I mean, think about most therapies. You take detailed histories, right? Memory is crucial. You work towards goals, desire, in a sense.
Absolutely. Therapists are often trained to build a narrative, connect the past to the present, set goals for the future. Bion comes along and says, maybe, just maybe, those very things we rely on are the things distorting our view of what's happening right now.
It really does go against the grain of how we as humans seem wired to process information. It's like asking us to stop doing what comes naturally.
It is. It's almost like advocating for a kind of, I don't know, Zen state of mind within the session, just pure presence. And it's worth remembering, he wasn't thinking this up in a complete vacuum.
Ah, okay. There was context.
Sure. Other analysts around that time were also wrestling with similar ideas. Like Herbert Rosenfeld, a contemporary writing in that same year, 67, he was really emphasizing the immateriality of what goes on between analyst and patient. The transference, the countertransference.
Your immateriality, meaning?
Meaning the emotional vibe, the nonverbal stuff, the felt sense in the room was maybe more important, more primary than the concrete facts or the patient's story. The raw experience of the interaction itself was seen as key.
And I remember reading much later, someone called Rauffenbacher suggested that focusing too much on concrete details could actually be a defense, a harmful resistance even.
Exactly. So there was this current already moving towards valuing the immediate, the experiential, over just the facts or the history.
Okay.
But Bion took it much further. That context helps show just how radical his step was. He's not just suggesting a slight shift in focus, he's proposing a complete overhaul of the analyst's mental posture, how their mind should actually operate during this session. The core implication is stark. Our usual ways of knowing, of remembering, of wanting are actually barriers to real insight.
It's like trying to listen to music, really listen, but you keep humming a different tune you already know, or thinking about what the next song on the album will be.
That's a great analogy. You'd miss the beauty, the uniqueness of the music playing right now. That's what Bion is warning against. 2. Unpacking memory and desire. Bion's definitions and their hindering effects.
Right. That context really highlights how different Bion's thinking was. So let's get more specific about these two villains of the piece, according to him. Memory and desire. You mentioned his definitions are quite precise. Let's unpack memory first.
Okay. So when Bion talks about memory, he's definitely not just talking about recalling facts like, what did I have for breakfast? We touched on this, but it bears repeating. He sees it as that unconscious misleading device, that interface. It subtly but really powerfully influences our ability to observe dispassionately, and crucially, it affects our judgment. It works, he says, by selection and suppression of material. So it's not passive storage. It's actively editing our reality in real time, making the present fit templates from the past.
Okay, active editing based on the past.
Got it.
And desire. How does that fit his definition?
Well, similarly, it's not just about conscious wants, like wanting a vacation. It's this powerful internal force that, just like memory, distorts judgment through that same mechanism, selection and suppression.
But instead of pulling from the past, it pushes towards the future.
Exactly. It pushes towards a future outcome, a state you hope for, a specific result you want to see happen. And Bion points out that both memory and desire, they don't just sit there quietly. They reveal the intensity of different parts of our mental life. They're charged with psychic energy.
So they're powerful forces. Where does he say they come from?
He links them both to sensuous experience, basically, a raw sensory input from the world. And he says they promote a capacity derived from sense impressions. So they're deeply tied to how we physically experience things. But then they take that raw input and they warp it.
Warp it through the filters of past and future.
Right, like that musician analogy again. Instead of just hearing the music now, they're constantly comparing it to old recordings, memory, or trying to guess the next note, desire. They miss the immediate unfolding thing itself.
So, they both stem from sensory experience, but they pull us away from the present sensory experience. What's the crucial distinction Bion makes, then, between how they operate and what's really important in the analysis? It seems to be all about time, right? Past, future versus now.
That's absolutely central. Memory and desire, even though they deal with sense impressions, are fundamentally tangled up with time in a way Bion sees as unhelpful, even damaging, to the process of discovery and analysis. Right. Memory obviously is about what has happened. It keeps tethering us to the past, making us interpret through that lens.
Right.
Desire, meanwhile, is all about what is yet to happen or what will happen. It pulls us into the future, coloring the present moment with hopes, fears, expectations.
Okay, so they anchor us in the past and future, but Bion says,
Bion states it really clearly, very emphatically. Psychoanalytic observations are connected to what is happening, not what has happened, nor what will happen.
wow, only what is happening.
Yes. For him, the absolute priority, the paramount thing, is the importance of the immediate happening, the present moment. It's the raw, unfiltered, unfolding experience right here, right now, that holds the potential for genuine insight, not looking back, not planning ahead.
That really is the core of it, isn't it? Because then he takes it even further. He implies that anything the analyst already knows about the patient is almost a problem.
Yes, he makes this incredible, almost shocking statement. What is known about the patient is of no further consequence. And he even adds it's either false or irrelevant.
Okay, that's really hard to wrap your head around, especially if you think about, well, any field where building up knowledge about someone or something is key, like medicine or teaching.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It feels completely counterintuitive to how expertise usually works. How can you help someone if you disregard what you know about them? But we need to be careful here. Bion isn't saying throw out all knowledge forever. He's describing a very specific mental discipline for the moment of observation within the session.
Ah, okay. It's about the state of mind during the observation.
Precisely. If something is already known by the analyst, if it's already been labeled, understood, filed away mentally, Bion suggests it's not fresh data anymore. He uses a technical term, saying it's not a defense or grid category 2 element.
Can you quickly explain that grid category too?
Sure. Bion developed this complex grid to map mental phenomena. Very simply put, a category 2 element is something observed and then almost immediately slapped with a concept or interpretation. Bion is saying if it's already known from the past, it's already been processed like that. It's not raw, emergent psychic reality anymore. It doesn't hold that potential for immediate new discovery.
So the truly radical conclusion he draws from this is
That nothing must be allowed to importance in any session that is already known.
nothing known should be considered important in that moment.
Exactly. He's making a powerful case that it's the unknown part of what you observe, the new thing, the unexpected flicker, the thing that doesn't fit. That's where the real significance lies. It totally challenges the idea that understanding is built layer by layer on a foundation of established facts or history. He's saying what you think you know can actually blind you to what is really happening now.
It's like a scientist needing to be ready for an experiment to completely disprove their hypothesis, not just confirm it.
Exactly, that kind of openness. Yeah. An openness to being completely surprised, to having your assumptions overturned.
Yeah.
3, the analytic posture. Embracing O and the immediacy of experience.
Okay, so if all that knowledge you've built up, all the memories of past sessions, all the hopes for where the therapy might go if those are actually hindrances, then what is the analyst supposed to do? What's the right mental posture? It sounds incredibly passive or maybe just impossible.
Well, it's definitely not passive. It's incredibly active mentally, just in a different way. This brings us to one of Bion's most famous and perhaps most mysterious concepts.
Ah, yes. Oh, ultimate reality.
Something like that. O represents the ultimate truth or reality of the analytic situation, the thing in itself that's being experienced before it gets conceptualized or filtered. It's more a state of being in touch with that reality rather than knowing about it intellectually.
Okay.
And to achieve a state of mind where you can even begin to approach O, Bion says the analyst must abandon notes, memory, and desire. He's emphatic. These aren't just like distractions you try to ignore. He says they actively preclude propitious discovery.
They literally block the path.
They block the path to the kind of deep, emergent insight he believes is possible. So it's a fundamental shift he's calling for, away from the cognitive mode applying theories, remembering facts towards an experiential mode being totally present and receptive to whatever's unfolding, allowing O to sort of reveal itself.
Like trying to quiet the mental chatter in meditation, maybe, to just observe.
That's a very good parallel, quieting the internal noise of memory and desire to perceive something more fundamental.
So let's break that down practically. Desire in practice, what does that look like? No agenda at all.
Pretty much. No agenda, no expectations, no thinking, oh, I hope the patient gets this insight today, or I really want them to overcome this symptom soon. Bion's instruction is crystal clear. Do not let memory and desire preclude propitious discovery.
Right.
Which means, he says, no plans, no expectations, no desire for a specific cure or even administration. The analyst isn't there to administer a treatment in the usual sense, They're there to simply be present, completely open, without trying to steer things in any particular direction.
That feels so different from almost any professional interaction where there's usually some goal, some desired outcome.
It really is, and that's why it's so radical. Think about having a conversation where you genuinely have no desired outcome. You're just there to listen, to experience the other person's words as they emerge, without trying to fix anything or offer advice unless asked. That kind of pure presence is the aim.
Okay. And memory in practice. You said it was literal.
Yeah, the instruction is that the analyst must not remember past
Yes,
sessions.
exactly.
Well, it's not about inducing amnesia, obviously. It's about an active mental discipline, not allowing patterns, interpretations, or narratives from previous sessions to dictate how you perceive or react in the current moment. Each session needs to be approached with a kind of radical freshness, as if it's the first time you're encountering this particular configuration of psychic reality.
So you can see what's actually emerging now, not what you expect based on last week.
Exactly. It frees up your perception.
Okay, if you're ditching memory and desire, what guides you? What are you supposed to be tuning into? It sounds less intellectual and more feeling-based.
That's absolutely it. It becomes intensely personal, deeply experiential for the analyst. Bion states, every impulse from the patient should become part of the analyst's emotional experience.
Become part of their emotional experience, not just observed but felt.
Felt. It's not about intellectually understanding the words. It's about a direct, felt emotional resonance within the analysts themselves. They're using their own internal state, their emotional landscape, as the primary instrument, the sensor, for what's unfolding in the patient and in the space between them.
Wow.
And this emotional experience, Bion says, is the single most important event in which propitious discovery can be observed. It literally becomes the primary guide, the compass pointing towards O.
So your own gut feeling, your emotional reaction, becomes the main data point.
In a highly disciplined way, yes. And for this to work, he uses those really strong words. The analyst must be unscrupulous and the patient shameless.
Right, those words jumped out earlier. Unscrupulous and shameless. Can you unpack those? They sound almost negative.
Yeah, they're provocative, aren't they? But he doesn't mean them in a moral or social sense. To be unscrupulous here means the analyst needs to be free from the usual scruples, the conventional constraints, intellectual, ethical, theoretical, that might prevent them from directly experiencing the raw emotional impact of the patient. It's about letting go of what you think you should be thinking or feeling, or what the textbook says, and just allowing the encounter to happen.
Okay, so unscrupulous means intellectually and emotionally open, shedding preconceptions.
Exactly. And for the patient to be shameless, it means they need to feel free enough to express whatever comes up without censoring themselves, without worrying about judgment, without trying to present a good or coherent picture. It requires a shared commitment to this radical openness and vulnerability.
So both have to let go of the usual defenses.
Yes, to allow that unfiltered, unmediated experience to emerge and, crucially, to be registered within the analyst's emotional self.
That makes a lot more sense now. It's about stripping away the usual layers. And if the analyst is in this state, this raw, receptive emotional state, it implies the session itself isn't a neat, structured event.
Not at all. Bion sees this session as being in a constant state of flux. Analysis, in this view, isn't about imposing order or finding a neat pattern. It's about witnessing change, often unpredictable change. He says, the pattern of analysis will change.
So how do you even measure progress then, if it's not about reaching a specific goal?
Well, this is interesting. Progress isn't measured by symptom reduction in the usual way, but by the increased number of strips of moods, ideas, and attitudes observed in each session.
More strips, meaning more complexity, more nuance.
Exactly. It suggests the analyst is apprehending a richer, more detailed, more dynamic present moment. It's about deepening the awareness of the immediate what is, not about marching towards a predefined endpoint. And he insists this procedure, this state of mind, should be started at once and not abandoned on any pretext. It requires constant effort.
And you mentioned something about patience, or abandoning patience.
Yes, he says the analyst must be shameless in abandoning the patience needed to endure the tempo of the analytic process. Which sounds odd, but I think he means resisting the urge to rush things, to push for answers, to intervene too soon, or to force things into making sense prematurely. You have to surrender to the natural rhythm of psychic unfolding, however slow or confusing it might seem.
So putting it all together, this whole approach, it lets the analyst really let go of that pull to repeat the past, that's memory, and the push toward the future, that's desire,
Right.
which frees them up to be totally present with the immediacy, the right nowness of the encounter, just immersed in what is happening, unfiltered.
That has the absolute core of it. It's
Ah.
a discipline, a demanding discipline of radical presence, cultivating a mental state that's designed to be wide open to the unknown, to whatever emerges. It's paradoxical, isn't it? It takes huge effort to simply be receptive. 4, the challenges and profound benefits of this radical approach.
Okay, but it sounds incredibly difficult. I mean, it's like asking your brain to stop doing what it does automatically, remembering, anticipating. Bion must have known how hard this was, right? He couldn't have thought this was easy.
Well, absolutely not. He was very clear about the difficulty. This wasn't just some abstract philosophical idea for him. It was a practical and very demanding clinical discipline. In that letter he wrote to Dr. Linden, he called the procedure difficult yet helpful.
Difficult yet helpful, okay?
And he also described it as a temporary training in the unscrupulous use of the mental faculty. Notice the words temporary training.
Ah, so it's not meant to be a permanent state of forgetting everything.
No, it's more like a mental exercise, a rigorous workout to sharpen the analyst's perceptual tools, to make them more sensitive to that immediate reality, and it's not passive, not just zoning out. It requires immense mental effort, constant vigilance, which is why he said, quite bluntly, that this psychoanalytic procedure is not for a lazy person.
Ah, I can see why. It takes serious self-discipline.
Absolutely. A willingness to sit with uncertainty, to tolerate not knowing, and to actively resist the brain's natural urge to categorize and explain everything instantly.
And if memory and desire inevitably lead to judgments, like you said, because they filter everything through past or future lenses, then shedding them means trying to move beyond judgment altogether.
That's a key part of it. The goal is to get beyond those preformed judgments. So the analyst should not be trying to organize the incoming data neatly or try to fit it into existing logical theories while it's happening.
So you don't sit there thinking, this fits Freud's theory of X, or this sounds like Klein's concept of Y.
Not in that moment of receptive observation, no. Instead, Bion argued that a logical theory to represent the realizations of the psychoanalyst should actually emerge from the practice itself. It shouldn't be a pre-cooked framework you apply to the experience. It should be born from the experience organically.
Wow, so the understanding grows out of the encounter, rather than being imposed on it.
Precisely. This is how he believed unconscious objectivity could be evolved by the analyst during this section. It's not something brought in from outside, from books or training, although that background knowledge exists somewhere. It's a dynamic understanding arising from this unique, immediate interaction.
Like an artist, maybe, who doesn't start with a fixed sketch, but lets the painting emerge from the process of applying paint.
That's a really apt way to think about it, guided by the feeling, the impression of the moment, not just by a preconceived plan.
Okay, so the true goal then isn't just collecting information or diagnosing. You said it's about perceiving sense impressions directly as pathfinders for O. Can we linger on that? What exactly are these sense impressions and how do they lead towards this ultimate reality O? It still feels a bit abstract.
It is abstract, but let's try to make it concrete. Sense impressions and beyond specific usage here aren't just the 5 senses, sight, sound, etc., though they might be involved. It's more about the raw, unfiltered impacts, emotional, psychic impacts, coming from the patient that register directly within the analyst's own feeling state.
Before they get labeled or understood intellectually?
Exactly. Before you think, oh, that's anger, or that must be sadness. It could be a subtle shift in the patient's tone of voice, a fleeting look in their eyes, a sudden heavy silence, or even a feeling that arises unexpectedly within the analyst, a flash of boredom, a wave of anxiety, a sense of confusion.
Okay, so it's the raw data of the emotional field.
Yes, and Bion presents these raw sense impressions not as things to be immediately interpreted, but as pathfinders for O. They are clues, signposts, pointing towards that deeper, unfiltered truth or reality of the situation. Think about understanding a complex piece of abstract art. You don't just analyze the shapes and colors intellectually. You let the feeling of it, the atmosphere it creates, wash over you. That felt sense is closer to what Bion means by a sense impression guiding you toward O.
Oh, the whole practice of working without memory and desire is like clearing the decks.
Exactly. Clearing the mental clutter, quieting the noise, so you can become sensitive enough to perceive these subtle pathfinders. It's a discipline designed to prepare the analyst for that direct, unmediated apprehension of psychic reality, of O.
This really does have huge implications, doesn't it? Not just for analysis, but for how we think about connection, about knowledge itself. It even challenges the usual idea of rapport, right? Like, building rapport often means finding common ground, sharing understanding based on memory.
It absolutely challenges that.
Yeah.
Bion seemed to hope that his idea of rapport, which sounds more like a deep, non-judgmental emotional resonance, a kind of pure empathic attunement to the immediate moment, would eventually be accepted. It's not connection built on shared history or intellectual agreement. It's connection through raw, immediate presence.
Wow.
And it really underscores this core belief he had. Knowledge isn't just about accumulating facts. It's most valuable when it's alive, when it's understood and applied right here in the present moment. That unscrupulous use of the mind he talked about, it's not about being unethical.
Right, we clarified that.
It's about cultivating this radical openness, shedding the usual defenses, intellectual and emotional, to allow for that propitious discovery, that unexpected insight into psychic phenomena. And ultimately, the goal is to move towards an unmistakable objectivity, an understanding that isn't clouded by the analyst's own past or wishes, but arises directly from the encounter itself.
A direct, unmediated encounter with reality as it unfolds in that room, offering the purest possible form of insight.
That's the incredibly high bar he sets.
So reflecting on all this, what does it mean for us, outside the specific world of psychoanalysis? Bidon's notes on memory and desire, it feels like much more than just technical instructions for analysts.
Oh, definitely.
It seems like a profound invitation, really, for all of us, an invitation to try and cultivate a mind that's genuinely present, less burdened by the constant echoes of the past or the endless planning and hoping for the future. It's about the discipline of just observing, really observing.
And it raises that huge question, doesn't it? If the analyst needs to work without memory and without desire, to be truly present and open to what's emerging, what could that approach offer in other areas of life? How might we all benefit, even just a little, from trying to shed our reliance on what we think we already know or what we desperately hope will happen?
Yeah.
What if we could engage more often with the sheer immediacy of what is, right in front of us? Imagine a doctor, just for a moment, truly listening to a patient's story without instantly jumping to diagnostic categories based on past cases.
Or a teacher seeing a student struggle, maybe, without immediately thinking about their past grades or worrying about future test scores, just seeing the struggle now.
Or even a parent listening to their child, trying to hear them without automatically filtering it through their own childhood memories or their hopes and fears for the child's future.
That's a really powerful thought to sit with. Can you imagine the kind of clarity that might bring, the genuine connection, the unexpected things you might learn, or see if you could apply even like a tiny fraction of Bion's radical suggestion to just our everyday interactions, our learning, our whole way of being?
It really is about letting go, isn't it? Letting go of our usual mental anchors to truly experience what's happening.
Letting go to truly experience. Wow. Well, that was a fantastic, really mind-bending deep dive today into Bion's revolutionary ideas. Thank you for unpacking that.
My pleasure. It's challenging stuff, but incredibly rewarding to think about.
Absolutely. So until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.